Snodius, the first of his name, the unquestioned sovereign of Snotopia, gazed down upon what he believed to be the jewel of the Hume civilization. From his vantage point on the great hill, he could see vast fields, larger than the grand fungus fields of Snotantinople. These fields spread all around the outside of the settlement. Among the fields were huge, imposing watchtowers, 5 of them, tall as trees they were. In the center was the town itself. Farmhouses and barns dwarfed even Snottius's boss hut from Snotantinople. The boss Snot clenched his fists. The audacity! The insult! Snottius could barely contain himself. But the most galling of all was the fence. A steel chain-link fence surrounded the entire compound, barring the greenskins' entry. The fence towered over the heads of the greenskins, nearly twice the height of the impenetrable walls of Snotantinople. No, this could not be allowed. This was an affront that Snotopia could not stand. How dare the humans try to be better than us? It's time for war!
Oh boy, I do love war.
Yes, war, the natural condition of the greenskin. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Stinky?
I think so, Brain, but I don't think asking them nicely to leave is going to work.
No, Stinky. We need to return to Snotantinople to gather our forces and prepare for invasion.
The other 2 grots, the Fast and the Furious, nodded in agreement.
Yeah, we need to get the rest of the family. Right, back to the raft, back to Snotantinople double time. Everyone paddles this time, no one sleeps. Snottius consequently gave the snotling snore sleeper a sharp kick to the backside to emphasize his point, as the poor Snot had dozed off during the discussion between the grots. The sleepy Snot gave out a cry of surprise and then bolted roughly in the direction of the raft, being driven on by the other grots. The greenskins piled onto the raft and began paddling against the current. The river at this particular place was fairly slow, and with everyone paddling as hard as they could, Snottius and his minions began to paddle past the dark forest where the fearsome apes dwelt. They were making good time. At this rate, they might even be able to make it back to Snotantinople before nightfall. However, the river was not calm for the entire journey. Snottius found himself staring at the rapids that had nearly caused 3 snotlings to be drowned or eaten by river monsters. He would have to traverse this obstacle with care. After pondering for a moment, Snottius decided it was better to haul the raft out of the water, walk it along the riverbank, past the rapids, and put it back in the great river on the other side. This took time, but the snotlings and their grot masters were able to get the raft in the water quickly enough. The greenskins were breathing hard, but they were past the most dangerous portions of the river. They weren't going to get stuck in the dark forest, and they made it past the rapids. Snotantinople was within reach as the sun began to sink in the sky, marking late afternoon. Snottius decided to have the greenskins half on and half off. Half could rest, while the other half paddled. Snoresleeper was not permitted to rest, as he already rested quite enough already. The current was a bit stronger than it was after the rapids, but it was still manageable. The greenskins were exhausted when they finally pulled the raft into the canal that led to Snotantinople. Upon Snodius's return, he dismissed the grots and snots that had joined him, but he immediately began barking out orders. There was still time to work, and he needed every single set of grabby green hands if they were going to conquer the massive Humy metropolis. First things first, Snodius had been in possession of the Humy burner for some time now. It was a formidable weapon, but it was also extremely dangerous, and if used improperly, could be devastating to the users. Stinky, to say the least, had eliminated himself as a candidate. Snodius decided to entrust the responsibility to two snotlings who had followed him on his river journey and proved to be at least a little resilient. Soggy and Bash Skull were tasked with bearing the powerful burner. One could carry the tank, and the other could be the one to use the burning nozzle. They fought over which one would do which job, both preferring to be the one who actually got to do the burning. They settled the issue the only way greenskins knew how. Whoever won the most recent scrap between the two of them got the honor of being the burner. Snodius figured if two snots used the device, he wouldn't miss them too much if they exploded in an enormous fireball. Snodius thought for a moment. They would need more Bernie juice for the burner eventually. He set Debrain and Pegleg to seeing if they could use Snotfire to refuel the burner if necessary. With that minor issue settled, Snodius took stock of the population of his capital. Not too many snotlings popped up while Snodius was gone. Only 3 new snotlings had emerged from the ground, putting the population at 30. However, the same number of grots emerged. That was good. 7 grots. His 2 old trusty mutated snots in Snotbow and Tree Climber. This was getting to be a decent-sized force. Snodius decided to name the new grots. Ed, and Eddie, and moved on with his plans. He would need to collect Snotbow from Skullstanbul and put his commando snots to good use, provided they had been properly trained. But it was too late to make the journey, and Snodius himself was rather exhausted from the river voyage. Snodius trudged to his boss hut, but there was still so much to do. He closed his eyes and prayed to Gork and Mork for guidance. Snodius did not get any kind of clear response, but he got the sense that Gork was a bit disappointed that he didn't immediately attack the Humies and smash them to pieces. Mork, however, seemed pleased that Snodius has decided to retreat and come up with a cunning plan in order to smash the Humies later. With this in mind, Snodius picked his nose one last time and fell into a deep but restless sleep. In the morning, Snodius left the work preparation in the hands of Debrain, who had consequently taken apart the burner that had been given to Soggy and Bashskull. He was working on putting the thing back together, and hopefully this experience would teach him how the thing actually worked. Snodius grabbed Tree Climber to be his right-hand mutant, and he brought Stinky along as well, just so he could keep an eye on him and make sure he wasn't getting into any trouble. DeFast and DeFurious would come along as well. Snodius had plans for them. He also grabbed a handful of snots who weren't looking busy enough when Snodius happened to be walking past. Snore Sleeper, of course, was among them. The great snot boss set out for the site of his greatest victory, the Battle of Big Cave, where the Humies were defeated and so many snots lost their lives to the Humie shooters. When Snodius and his entourage arrived, there were 17 snotlings that had sprouted up in the wake of the magnificent battle. They were already cultivating fungus patches and using Big Cave for shelter and storage. The larger grots quickly cowed the weaker snotlings. Snodius turned to the Fast and the Furious. Right, I want you lot to run this place. I want you to dig up some good rocks for building stuff. Maybe you'll even find shiny metal bits for building. I name you two the bosses of Big Cave. Family? Yeah, sure, family, whatever. Just get some good rocks and shinies and build stuff. Once that business was in order, Snottius made his way to the second stop. He went to go check on Snotbow and see how his training regime was going with the commando Snots. When the boss arrived in Snotantium, which is what had been renamed from Skullstanbul, Snotbow was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he was greeted by the sight of groups of snotlings going through fighting drills, rather clumsily. The experience wasn't unlike watching 5-year-old human children taking a karate class. Snottius shook his head, disappointed at the results so far of this commando school. No, this ain't no good. Where is Snotbow? Oh, it's right here. Suddenly, Snotbow, along with Red Shirt 2, Punchin' Bag, and Steve, seemed to emerge from out of nowhere, smearing purple paint off of their faces as they did so. The 3 young Snots were much bigger and more fearsome looking. They looked like they might actually be somewhat formidable in a fight, for Snotlings at least. Good, I got work for you. We's got a big plan. What big plan? We found a big hummy place, bigger than Snotantinople. Ugh! Fences that reach into the sky. Huts bigger than the biggest bush hut I ever seen. Ain't you only ever seen your own boss hut? We's gotta crush 'em! Loot all this crap they got. They got trucks that run in the fields where they grow stuff. They got all sorts of flash gubbins in the big bush hut in the middle of the city. How is we gonna snick 'em all? Just 4 Yumis nearly snicked the whole tribe. And that was when we had 'em in a trap. I told ya, I got a plan. We's gonna get ready. Build lots of bows and sticks for the boys. I want squig riders. Pogchomp is big enough for me to ride now. I want other riding boys with me. I want rock throwers. Big rock throwers. That way we can knock down the big fences. I want things what's full of snot fire to throw at the Yumis. Yeah, I want to watch 'em do the Bernie dance. Once you got all that stuff, what you gonna do? Alright, here's the plan. You and your commandos go in. There is these watchtower thingies. Yumis is up there. Not sure if they got shooters or not, or if they's just watching. I want you to sneak in and snick one of 'em. Then we sneak in that way. We sneak in on the side what's got the watchtower what ain't got no Yumis in it. Then we sneak in. We snick some Yumis. We get them to chase us out into the woods. Then we have pits dug out into the woods where we's waiting for the ambush. Once we kill all the stupid Yumis that followed us, we use the rock throwers, knock down the fence, charge in with the squig riders, and then kill all the Yumis inside and take their gubbins. Easy as pie. Does you even know how to make pie? I can never get the crust right. Shut up! But I'm serious. This sounds complicated. What if something goes wrong? Yeah, Snotbo, me friend, me pal. When has anything ever gone wrong? Right, see, never. Snotbo was left standing, and he simply shrugged. And Tree Climber shrugged with him. The two kept their objections to themselves. Maybe the boss was right. Maybe everything would work fine. Maybe they'd crush the Humies, stomp them flat, and win the day for the glory of Snotopia. The future was yet unknown, but the present was certain. Snotopia was on the march. On the march to war!
No man do they call me. My mother and my father, and all my comrades as well. Thank you all for listening to the latest episode of Growing the Tribe. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a like and comment so that one day you too can contribute to the glory of Snotantinople. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so in order to hear more stories about tiny green people believing that a small farming community is the pinnacle of human civilization. If you would like to support me, my Patreon and my PayPal are linked in the description below. And if you have no idea what's going on, you can click on the Growing the Tribe playlist, which contains both story entries and the original RP streams that these stories are based on. Thank you all very much for listening. No Man out.